Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. We float like butterflies and we sting like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. My wingman, that other badass jet pilot, my friend, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother Paul?
Hey, how are you doing, Mr. Drew? Good to talk to you today. Good to see you. Always good to see you. Hope we have a nice show and hope our listeners and viewers are entertained.
Good. Let's make that hope a reality. Let's start off with a really nice quote. I love these motivational quotes, but it says, true friendship withstands time, distance, and silence. And I love that last part, silence. Because, whenever you're with a really good friend, you don't have to see him for years, and you just go right back to where you dropped it off. And that was by Isabel Allende. Don't you like that, Dr. Paul?
That's nice. That is nice. In fact, I just reconnected with a friend 2 nights ago that I hadn't talked to in a few months, and we've been kind of ailing and still ailing a little bit, but we picked up, where we left off.
Well, good. We'll say prayers for him. All right, let's start this bad boy off with one of the greatest athletes that ever walked this planet. I was able to hang out with for a little while, and his name was Jim Brown. I met him at Muhammad Ali's camp, and if you remember, Jim Brown did a big sports thing with Jabbar, who was Lou Alcindor then, and they brought all these athletes together because Ali did not want to fight in the Vietnam War. Anyway, Jim Brown, what a nice guy. And I had no idea. The most remarkable thing about Jim Brown and the NFL, he never missed a down. He played 9 years. The first year he came in, he won most valuable player. It wasn't called that then. And the last year he played, when he won most valuable player again, he retired. He only played 9 seasons. 8 of them, he was the leading rusher of everybody. He had more touchdowns and more rushing yards than anybody. But he retired at 30 to go to the movies. Remember we talked about the Dirty Dozen, Dr. Paul?
Yeah, I remember. He was a phenomenal athlete, and he was a guy that was like good at everything. Even when he was in high school and college, he was good at I don't know about baseball, but basketball, football, lacrosse. I believe he's one of the greatest lacrosse players that ever lived. He was an All-American at Syracuse, played for Syracuse University when he went to school. He was originally from Georgia,
Yes, I know.
Georgia moved up to Long Island, went to school in Syracuse, went through a lot of stuff. But yeah, there's a famous picture of him. We'll put it up there. I think they call it the Cleveland Summit, where he's flanked by Muhammad Ali. There was Kareem, who was Lou Alcindor then. He was a young guy. He's the only one that's surviving now. And Bill Russell, the very famous host, Carl Stokes, who I think he was the mayor of Cleveland at the time. A lot of stuff was going on in 68 and 69 in the U.S., and he was a part of it. I never knew Jim Brown. I liked his movies, really liked the Dirty Dozen, classic movie. If you haven't seen it, everybody should take a look at it. It's an excellent movie. It's an excellent cast. The people there either were big stars or would become big stars shortly thereafter. You'd be familiar with some of them. Very entertaining.
Yeah, it was a great movie. I remember watching that movie in the beginning. I loved the Dirty Dozen. Something else amazing about Jim Brown, Paul? After every play, he would get up so slow and walk even slower back to the huddle, no matter what. And he told somebody, he said, anytime somebody tackles you, you make sure they remember what it feels like, the pain of tackling you. I'll never forget when he said something like that. But when he talked to me up at camp, and I'll show a picture for all you YouTube watchers out there who watch our show. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, you can pull this up on YouTube. Anyway, he was motivating me. I was a young man, 16 years old, playing basketball, and he just kept telling me that don't let anybody or anything stop your dreams. And he was up there in Ali's camp. We were just all hanging out, and I had no idea until I actually grew up, because I didn't get to see him play football that much. But when I found out, man, what a great thing. Well, Dr. Paul, welcome to the Wingman Show. For everybody out there, thank you so much. All of our frequent flyers, which That means people who watch us every week. Welcome. Please hit us up on Instagram. You can subscribe on YouTube. We appreciate everything that you're doing for us, don't we, Dr. Paul?
Yes, we do. For those who are looking at YouTube, please give us a like and a share with other people, subscribe so you'll get notification when something new pops up. We always have something new. We also have that frequent flow line where we'll answer your questions if you want to direct one to us.
All you have to do is write us at wingmanshow.com. Wingmanshow.com. I'll put it up here on the screen, and you write us a letter, ask Dr. Paul and I anything you want. Well, if you look behind us right now, you'll see some badass F-16s. Now, they are Air Force jets, and we're Navy, but bad is bad. And those F-16s are super bad. And behind me are the Blue Angels. No, I'm sorry. Behind me is the Air Force acrobatic team called the Thunderbirds. Blue Angels, of course, are Navy. And I realized that to talk to Dr. Paul about this, their control stick was actually on the right-hand side of the console. So you had a little joystick on the right-hand side because everything was electrical and hydraulic. There was no more real force pulling on the stick. And I just would have thought that would have been a strange way to fly. I'm sure I would have got used to it. What do you think about F-16s, Doc?
Yeah, I was surprised to see that too. I'm always, used to a stick being in the center, kind of between your legs, not one side or the other. I never flew the the small Airbuses, but a lot of the Airbus airliners, they have a side stick controller, and that's a standard. I'm told it's pretty easy to get used to. But yeah, the F-16 is a good airplane. Thunderbirds, I don't know what their schedule is, but they're probably flying now. Again, they're part of the recruiting for the Air Force, as the Blue Angels are recruiting for the Navy.
Well, the name of our show this week is Breaking the Sound Barrier with Sneakers. Now, how is that possible? I'll tell you how that's possible. Dr. Paul and I have a very good friend, a black jet pilot named Sneakers. His real name is Chuck Nesby. And when I was in Oceana, a brand new nugget, I'm in the rag, I don't know what's going on. Everything is happening so fast. I have wings. I'm learning to fly. And Chuck Nesby, who told me to call him Sneakers, came in an F-14 to Oceana. Well, he took me up in his F-14, and I believe we went 2 times the speed of sound, maybe. I know we definitely broke the sound barrier. It was 1.6, 1.7, actually. And that just means you're going faster than sound. The thing I remember about going that fast is nothing, because we were so high up, we didn't really have clouds that was zooming by us. And Dr. Paul and I are low-level attack pilots. So when you're going 450, 500 miles an hour, and you're 40, 50 feet from the ground, that is smoking. So it seemed a lot faster than being up real high, going the speed of sound. But I know we broke the sound barrier, and I can imagine that boom.
Yeah.
Dr. Paul, Sneakers.
Yeah, know Sneakers very well. Retired Captain Chuck Nesby. Hadn't seen him in a while. We'll try to make sure that he gets this broadcast. Yeah, great guy. Met him a long time ago in flight training. We were sort of in flight training together. He was already a winged aviator, and he's going through a jet transition program. I met him in the lovely place known as Kingsville, Texas. More stories on that to follow. But yeah, he's a great guy. I saw him on a documentary one time. I was just messing around on YouTube, and he was on a documentary on the Tuskegee Airmen. I found out that his father was a Tuskegee Airman.
What?
Yeah, before I even knew what they really were. He gave me a book on him one time, one weekend. This is in the 70s. I said, wow, this is really interesting. So it's a small world, a very small world.
Very small world. And, that brings up a great point. Why are there so few black pilots? Well, the reason is you have to know a pilot, realize it's hard, but it's not that hard. Why are there few black doctors, who maybe we'll talk about later? It's because you got to be around doctors to realize those words are just, you memorize those fancy medical terms. It's not that you're that much smarter, and you can actually learn to do something like that. Right, Paul?
Exactly. It's exposure and opportunity, and And some encouragement along the way is not bad either. Encouragement, not discouragement.
Well, I broke the sound barrier with sneakers, and I'm so happy that, we both, it's a very small community in the Navy, black jet pilots. So we probably know most of them. All right, Dr. Paul, your favorite word is move. Your favorite word is move. And that means our bodies need to move to live. My favorite word is education. So you put moving and education together and you're going to have something. But let's talk about 8 great reasons to start walking. And I always said, you want to start an exercise program, you don't need a membership to a gym. What you need are sneakers, socks, and a long road. That's all you need. And when you start off, remember, just start off 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and just increase it slowly. But here are the 8 great reasons to walk. And the number one is you live longer, longevity.
You're just sedentary all the time. Everything kind of backs up, just like a car or a plane or something that's been sitting for a long time. When it gets going, it's got issues. Keep the system moving, keep yourself moving. Today is a day off for me. Today it's not a workout day. This is a day off, but it's a day of program rest. I had a good hard day yesterday, which is fine. Plus I worked outside for a while, so I'm doing all right. The thing is to keep your activity going, so you think differently, you get a little sharper mentally. And
let's talk about that thinking differently. Walking actually helps you grow brain cells in your hippocampus. It actually expands that part of your brain where you have more memory, you have better memory, and you have some creativity. If you start walking or continue your workout program, your life might stop sucking, because that's mental, and that's called depression, and this helps with that. How about our brain getting better?
Your brain gets better, and even if you can't say, where I am living, I can't really walk outside. I don't have the freedom of movement of some other people. If you can find some stairs somewhere, that counts too. That's fine. Walking up and down stairs will work. May not be exciting, but you can accomplish the same amount. When during the astronaut program, the Mercury astronauts, that first group, I understand when they got started, they didn't really have a formal physical fitness program. And guys were obviously in great shape. Most of them were test pilots, and it was no obesity problem prevalent in the country then. So everybody's in relatively good shape. But what they did to keep their fitness up, a lot of them, they'd run the steps. They'd run the steps of NASA or in DC. They'd run up and down steps. That was it. Kind of like the end of Rocky Balboa sort of thing. And it worked. John Glenn went to space. He's one of the original Mercury astronauts. And I think he was the oldest shuttle occupant. He was in his mid-70s. And they showed him working out before that. He was a senator. He was a famous senator from Ohio. And they showed him working out, just getting ready for that space flight at the age of 75 or 76. And I think I saw him, he was like jogging down, I think he was going up and down some steps or running around a river somewhere.
Well, remember I told you, I just came out of this surgery procedure and I'm starting to work out again, and I am weak as hell. And it's very frustrating. And then you told me that these NASA astronauts, in the beginning, they could not move at all. You couldn't float around the space capsule and all that. You had to stay in one position. And you reminded me, when they took these astronauts out, they actually had to help them walk because of atrophy. They didn't use any of their muscles, did they, Dr. Paul?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, initially everything was stiff. They were just stiff. They were in that confined position. And even when the shuttle was operating, as people got off, it seemed like everybody is in good shape and they're able to walk, but they had people nearby just in case they weren't, even though they're up in space, because you get some bone degeneration from prolonged space flight, apparently.
How about this one, Dr. Paul? The third reason, you have a 73% less chance of getting glaucoma if you start exercising. 73% less chance of messing with your eyes, of going blind and having problems with your vision if you start walking. Once again, motivation for me, big time, because I think vision is very important. Well, I guess we all do.
Yeah.
But walking actually helps that blood circulation and actually helps your eyes have more blood circulating around them so you don't get glaucoma.
Right. And it's gonna help you with sleep too.
Well, that was the next one. You actually get 70%. It's easier to go to sleep by 70% if you have a good exercise program. I'm glad you brought that up. That's the fourth one. You actually get to sleep better. And I'll tell you something, sleep is one of the most important things you can do. Because even when you work out, your body needs time to rest, relax, and shut down. So it helps with that sleep. How about this one, Dr. Paul? And I love this. Brain damaging stress. It reduces it. Brain damaging stress. Stress is the number one killer in America today. You can help that stress by starting a physical activity program.
That's what I do. Sometimes for creativity, I find that when I'm doing something physically active, some of my best ideas come at that time. But I'm not even trying to come up with something. Maybe something in a writing, right? I'm working on a book right now. And a great idea popped up yesterday when I just finished doing some push-ups, not related to anything I was doing physically. It's just some ideas kind of floating in the back of my head. And all of a sudden I said, well, maybe let me do it from this perspective. Now I have a piece of paper nearby and a pen. And I kind of jot the note down because I'll probably forget it in 30 seconds if I don't do that. Sometimes in creative processes, if I don't do it right away, some of those thoughts are lost forever.
That's so funny you saying that. It's so funny. Every time I come up with an idea, I think, oh, this is the greatest idea in the world. I won't ever forget it. And I forget it. So just like you now, I have my iPhone. And what I do is I go to notes. And whenever I think of something, I jot it down, especially for the show, because I want all of our listeners to have everything that we intend them to have. And we work very hard on trying to get you some good stuff. Okay, another one. You can relax better, but here's a good one. Every hour of exercise can reduce your depression by 28%. That blows me away, Dr. Paul. Actually, to reduce your stress, reduce depression, that thing I was telling you about, your life sucks. Well, walking helps it not suck.
Yeah, I agree. It's good. It's a good feeling. I mean, I've taken long walks with my wife or whatever, go, a couple miles maybe, or even sometimes shorter ones. And we feel better afterwards, both of us.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it last week about walking in nature also.
Yes. Yeah, if you can be around if you can be around some green stuff, it does help you.
The last one that is so important is that you can avoid disabilities. In other words, avoid disasters to your body, falling, tripping, hurting yourself. And God forbid you have an accident. This is the best one. It actually helps you to recover better. I'm recovering better from my surgery because I've been in an exercise program for a while. So actually, I was thinking about this today. Remember I told you how weak I was? And I kind of got depressed because I didn't have my strength anymore. What I should have done was I should have been grateful that I wasn't hurting anymore. And it's amazing how you can work with your mind. Instead of me thinking about what I don't have, I needed to start concentrating on what I did have. And that was the ability to not be in pain like before the surgery. So I think that's so important that if you do get hurt, exercise actually helps you recover because we all have accidents. Last one, well, that's the end of that one. But just for you to know, any kids that are having depression, exercise helps them. And this is just a bonus. They say that if you play golf, it's even just as healthy as walking, or maybe even a little bit healthier.
Yeah, any kind of movement is good. You can see, we're not the youngest people in the world, but this applies to everybody, particularly as you're getting older. That movement really keeps you going. Basically, in some ways, you can be your own physical therapist.
Well, we said that we know our bodies better than anybody, and you're your best advocate when it comes to your body when you talk to a doctor because you know how you feel.
Right.
All right. How about this? I love this. A policeman pulled over a car that looked like they were drunk. Actually, they were kind of swerving back and forth. He pulls the car over. As they both pull over to the side of the road, he notices the car that he pulled over, there's a big rumbling in the front seat. Well, he gets out of his car, approaches the car, and all of a sudden, a guy gets out from the passenger side and said, that wasn't me. The policeman looks in the driver's seat, and it was his dog. He switched seats with his dog and actually blamed the dog for drunk driving. When the officer questioned him, he started to run. He didn't get far, I think 20 yards, but is that not just amazing?
Yeah, that's quite a bit of, I don't know what to call that. It reminds me of a situation in that we have the high occupancy lanes in the city that we both live in. If you have two more people, you can go into the express lanes. And there have been people that they would put get a dummy or a mannequin or something and put a wig on it and something and get in that lane. Some reason the police are able to tell it's fake. Never heard anybody doing that with a dog before. But that's really not fair for the dog. The dog, license, registration. You got it. He's not producing anything. Don't, put your hands on the steering wheel put your paws on the steering wheel where I can see him. You're exposing the dog to danger.
Yeah, drug rehab for dogs, huh?
Yes.
All right. You know what time it is? That brings us to the Wingman PSA. We don't live in facts in life. Under number 9, which is develop self-discipline, do what you're supposed to do, not what you want to do. Until what you're supposed to do becomes what you want to do, and then you can do what you want to do. Beautiful. That's our Wingman PSA for the day. And, we're sponsored by Magic Mind. And anybody who's interested in Magic Mind, Paul and I take that for less stress, more productivity. You just go to magicmind.co. You can order this stuff. It's wonderful. We drink it in the morning. And if you want 40% off, just put in the code Wingman. Just put in the code Wingman. Well, we have that frequent flow line, and that, once again, is our website, wingmanshow.com. Write us there. And we got a letter from a young man in New Mexico, Tito, a college graduate. He's 22, and he wants to be an Air Force pilot. And he wrote us asking, could we give him some direction on what to do with his pay, but also how to deal with being a minority in the military. And Dr. Paul and I have a lot of experience with that. The first thing I want to say before I turn you over to the doctor is you're not a minority. Stop thinking you're a minority. You lose right away. You might be a minority in your city, but you're not a minority on this planet. So let's get that out of the way. Dr. Paul, you have some advice for my friend Tito.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Minority is a word I don't use that. I just don't, for the same reasons you said. You have the N word. I have the M word. I don't use that. Not relevant. For Tito, well, the first thing you got to do is you're a college graduate. That's great. So it sounds like you'd be a candidate. You want to become a candidate for OTS, Officer Training School. Become an Air Force officer requires you become a commissioned officer, and having a college degree is the first requirement. At least it is for the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and I'm pretty sure the Coast Guard. So you've got to do that, but you got to go through OCS. You have to be selected, and you'll take a series of tests. I think they still call it the AFOQT. I remember doing that a long time ago. Air Force Officers Qualification Test to see if you've got what it takes. Generally, it's a general exam on just different concepts of life, not too heavy duty. Analysis of personality, see how you score on that. And of course, you need to be physically fit, or at least pass the physical in terms of height and weight and size, eyesight, that kind of thing. And you have to go through the system. So your biggest thing is to really, I'd say, you want to probably go to a recruiter, and they can tell you how to get into officer candidate school. We called it officer candidate school. I think they call it officer training school in the Air Force. So that's the first thing. That's where you start. So you need to really go to a recruiter. Of course, you can do your own study just online. I did look online. They do have a lot of information already. So it's doable. Have a good career. Your commitment time. Depends on what you want to do. I guess they give wings for people to fly UAVs. I know nothing about that. I just know the pilot stuff. But the commitment's a fair amount of time in your life, and it's got to be something I'd say that you really, really want to do, because you're going to have to dedicate yourself 100%, maybe 200%, to get through the program and to accomplish the mission that the Air Force and the country expects you to accomplish.
That's very good, Dr. Paul. First of all, Tito, let me just tell you this. To become a pilot is hard. To look different than the people that are in your class can be kind of off-putting, because you're not around kind of your culture, and you're hearing all new different things. Well, let me tell you the first thing. If they can do it, you can do it. Hear my words. If they can do it, you can do it. You need to know that all along. One of the things that really helped me is study a little bit ahead, because I used to think all these guys in my class were so much smarter than me, and I just realized all they did was read the next chapter that they didn't have to. I never did that in school. I only did what I had to do. But now I've learned, if you read a little bit ahead, you actually seem smarter. Do not let them teach you anything that you don't understand. I remember I told my dad once, I said, they're being real hard on me because I'm black and this and that. And they gave me a down. He said, well, what's a down? I said, well, it was an unsat. It wasn't a good flight. And he said, well, what happened? I said, well, if I was white, he would have passed me. And he said, well, was it a good flight? I said, well, it wasn't that good. He said, so you're telling me you would rather pass and not be that good of a pilot? Get your black ass back in that airplane and learn how to do it better than anybody else. And that's exactly what I did. So the next thing you asked me about is your pay. So you need to know this, Tito. If you get in now to the military at 22 years old, you can actually retire at 42 years old, which is incredible if you're not trying to be an airline pilot. And I think, Dr. Paul, you got to do 10 years now.
I think so, yeah.
Only 7. I had to give him 7 years, but I think it's 10 or 12 years now.
Yes, 10.
It's 10. Yes. Well, this is what you should do with your money. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. First of all, the most important company that you'll ever have is you, Tito. So you need to pay yourself first. That means 20% of your income should go to savings. And you can do that with your disbursement officer. The people who take care of your checks, you can tell them to put 20% away, like you never made it. 50% should go to your necessities, what you need, whatever you have to have for your money. That's where 50%. And 30% should go for having a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of fun. 30% should go to I wants. But 50-30-20, but that first 20, that's what will get you going in life.
I agree.
Time for our wingman. And this wingman, man, we have a hard time in this country with homeless. And a lot of people look down on these homeless people. And, Dr. Paul and I always talk about the mental health issue in this country. And that's what's happening with most of them. Well, how about being a homeless man, laying in your little tent, your little sleeping bag or your box, and all of a sudden you heard this scream. A woman, Claudia Jimenez, her apartment was on fire. She was on the second floor. She's yelling out of the window, help, help, I can't get to the door. The fire is blocking it. Well, this homeless man, and his name is Joe Hollis. Dr. Paul and I know a good pilot friend of ours named Joe Holly, and that's the first thing I thought of. But Joe Hollis, he comes over to that window and he says, throw your babies down to me. This woman threw her 1-year-old, her 8-year-old, and 2 dogs out of the window, and Joe caught them all. And the last person to go was her, and she just didn't think he could catch her. And finally, the fire got so bad, she had to jump, and he caught her. This young lady said that this homeless man was her angel. And it's funny, if he wasn't homeless, those people probably would have died. Wow. What do you think about that, Dr. Paul? What a wingman.
Well, we've talked a lot about the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels. Well, this guy's a homeless angel. This is a first. Right time, right place. This is a good story. This is a great story.
There are good people out here in the world, and that's what the Wingman Show is trying to bring you. a little bit of good news. Hopefully you feel better after listening to our show than when you started. Dr. Paul, anything that's beautiful, anything that's meaningful, and anything that makes you and all of our listeners and viewers happy, may you have it today and forever. And Dr. Paul, I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too. And again, we appreciate all those who listen, like, and share our message. Your empowerment is really in your hands.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.